Ryūjō was a light aircraft carrier built for the Imperial Japanese Navy during the early 1930s. Small and lightly built in an attempt to exploit a loophole in the Washington Naval Treaty of 1922, she proved to be top-heavy and only marginally stable and was back in the shipyard for modifications to address those issues within a year of completion. With her stability improved, Ryūjō returned to service and was employed in operations during the Second Sino-Japanese War. During World War II, she provided air support for operations in the Philippines, Malaya, and the Dutch East Indies, where her aircraft participated in the Second Battle of the Java Sea. During the Indian Ocean Raid in April 1942, the carrier attacked British merchant shipping with both her guns and her aircraft. Ryūjō next participated in the Battle of the Aleutian Islands in June. She was sunk by American carrier aircraft at the Battle of the Eastern Solomons on 24 August 1942. Design: Ryūjō was planned as a light carrier of around 8,000 metric tons standard displacement to exploit a loophole in the Washington Naval Treaty of 1922, that carriers under 10,000 long tons standard displacement were not regarded as aircraft carriers. While Ryūjō was under construction, Article 3 of the London Naval Treaty of 1930 closed the above-mentioned loophole. Consequently, Ryūjō was the only light aircraft carrier of her type to be completed by Japan. Ryūjō had a length of 179.9 meters overall. She had a beam of 20.32 meters and a draft of 5.56 meters. She displaced 8,000 metric tons at standard load and 10,150 metric tons at normal load. Her crew consisted of 600 officers and enlisted men. To keep Ryūjō's weight to 8,000 metric tons, her hull was lightly built and no armor could be provided, although some protective plating was added abreast the machinery spaces and magazines. She was also designed with only a single hangar, which would have left her with an extremely low profile of freeboard amidships and 3.0 meters aft. Between the time the carrier was laid down in 1929 and launched in 1931, however, the Navy doubled her aircraft stowage requirement to 48 in order to give her a more capable air group. This necessitated the addition of a second hangar atop the first, raising freeboard to 14.9 meters. Coupled with the ship's narrow beam, the consequent top heaviness made her minimally stable in rough seas, despite the fitting of very active stabilizers. This was a common flaw amongst many treaty-circumventing Japanese warships of her generation. The Tomizuru incident of 12 March 1934, in which a top-heavy torpedo boat capsized in heavy weather, caused the IJN to investigate the stability of all their ships, resulting in a number of design changes to improve stability and increase hull strength. Ryūjō, already known to be only marginally stable, was promptly docked at the Kure Naval Arsenal for modifications that strengthened her keel and added ballast and shallow torpedo bulges to improve her stability. Her funnels were moved higher up the side of her hull and curved downward to keep the deck clear of smoke. Shortly afterward, Ryūjō was one of many Japanese warships caught in a typhoon on 25 September 1935 while on maneuvers during the Fourth Fleet incident. The ship's bridge, flight deck and superstructure were damaged and her hangar was flooded. Her forecastle was raised one deck and her bow was remodeled with more flare to make her less wet forward. After these modifications, her beam and draft increased to 20.78 meters and 7.08 meters respectively. Her displacement also increased to 10,600 metric tons at standard load and 12,732 metric tons at normal load. Her crew also grew to 924 officers and enlisted men. Machinery: the ship was fitted with two geared steam turbine sets with a total of 65,000 shaft horsepower, each driving one propeller shaft, using steam provided by 6 Campon water tube boilers. Ryūjō had a designed speed of 29 knots, but reached 29.5 knots during her sea trials from 65,270 shp. The ship carried 2,490 long tons of fuel oil, which gave her a range of 10,000 nautical miles at 14 knots. The boiler uptakes were trunked to the ship's starboard side amidships and exhausted horizontally below flight deck level through two small funnels. Flight deck and hangars. Ryūjō was a flush-decked carrier without an island superstructure. Her navigating and control bridge was located just under the forward lip of the flight deck in a long glassed-in greenhouse. Her superstructure was set back 23.5 meters from the ship's stem, giving Ryūjō a distinctive open bow. Her 156.5-meter flight deck was 23 meters wide and extended well beyond the aft end of her superstructure, supported by a pair of pillars. 6 transverse arrestor wires were installed on the flight deck and were later modernized in 1936 to stop a 6,000 kilograms aircraft. The ship's hangars were both 102.4 meters long and 18.9 meters wide, and had an approximate area of 3,871 square meters. Between them, they gave the ship the capacity to store 48 aircraft, although only 37 could be operated at one time. After the Fourth Fleet incident, Ryūjō's bridge and the leading edge of the flight deck were rounded off to make them more streamlined. This reduced the length of the flight deck by 2 meters. Aircraft were transported between the hangars and the flight deck by 2 elevators. The forward platform measured 15.7 by 11.1 meters and the rear 10.8 by 8.0 meters. The small rear elevator became a problem as the IJN progressively fielded larger and more modern carrier aircraft. Of all the aircraft in frontline service in 1941, only the Nakajima B-5N Kate torpedo bomber would fit, when positioned at an angle with its wings folded. This effectively made Ryūjō a single elevator carrier and considerably hindered transfer of aircraft in and out of the hangars for rearming and refueling during combat operations. Armament is completed. Ryūjō's primary anti-aircraft armament comprised 6 twin-gun mounts equipped with 40 caliber 12.7-CENTIMETER Type 89 dual-purpose guns mounted on projecting sponsons, 3 on either side of the carrier's hull. When firing at surface targets, the guns had a range of 14,700 meters. They had a maximum ceiling of 9,440 meters at their maximum elevation of plus 90 degrees. Their maximum rate of fire was 14 rounds a minute, but their sustained rate of fire was around 8 rounds per minute. 24 anti-aircraft Type 93 13.2 mm Oshkosh machine guns were also fitted, in twin and quadruple mounts. Their effective range against aircraft was 700–1,500 meters. The cyclic rate was adjustable between 425 and 475 rounds per minute. But the need to change 30-round magazines reduced the effective rate to 250 rounds per minute. During the carrier's 1934–36 refit, 2 of the 12.7-CENTIMETER mountings were exchanged for 2 twin-gun mounts for license-built Oshkosh 25mm Type 96 light AA guns, resulting in a savings of approximately 60 long tons of top weight that improved the ship's overall stability. This was the standard Japanese light AA gun during World War II, but it suffered from severe design shortcomings that rendered it a largely ineffective weapon. According to historian Mark Stiller, the weapon had many faults, including an inability to handle high-speed targets because it could not be trained or elevated fast enough by either hand or power. Its sights were inadequate for high-speed targets, and it possessed excessive vibration and muzzle blast. These 25mm guns had an effective range of 1,500–3,000 meters, and an effective ceiling of 5,500 meters at an elevation of +85 degrees. The machine guns were replaced during a brief refit in April–May 1942 with 6 triple-mount 25mm AA guns.